Hey miners, Mining King here. So today we're going to be looking at the new mining motherboard from Asrock, the Q270 BTC. So let's get right into it. So before we get into this video, just remember right now there is an ongoing giveaway, so make sure to check the Discord link down below. To enter, and this is for US and Canada only, you need to go to the giveaway channel and click the reaction emoji in the Mining King Discord. Alright, well, let's get into the video. So I picked this up for probably, I don't know, I think it was like $270, and I found that the cheapest was on eBay. So now, as you know, everybody loves the H110 BTC from Asrock. That's, you know, everybody's tried and true. I've never actually used the H110 because when I got into mining, it was already too expensive. So I actually ended up, the first mining motherboard I got was the Zotac B150 mining motherboard, and I got that for 60 bucks from their website before everybody knew about them. So that was a really good deal. So this is the new, pretty much think of this as the newer H110. And some of these things that you will notice is right here, you could see that all these slots now are no longer just in a straight line. So that way you don't have to worry about, you know, the solder points from the little PCIe connectors touching each other. So they're all separated, and you have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, which is the 13th is a full slot as well as an M.2, so it'd be interesting if you could do 14. Now you will see a couple things on the board here. You will see 2 Molex connectors. You'll see a Molex connector right here as well as right here. But there is, and I'm curious, a SATA power connector on the motherboard. I have never seen a SATA power plug soldered onto a board yet, ever. So I'm curious. Now, there are a couple nice features. Like right now, they also have the on and off reset buttons and the reset switch right here built into the board, as you can see. They did add that to their H510, which is their riserless motherboard. So you could have 6 GPUs on there. I have that one as well. It's a pretty good board. I like it. I like not using the risers. You're just kind of limited to, like, you know, how many you can put on there, which is 6. But that's like a typical, you know, mining rig. A nice low number is 6. It's easily manageable. So this is a 270. So you still can use, you know, your really popular CPUs, your 3930s and 3900s, and you know, anything from that particular Intel line. So it does use the 6th and 7th gen Intel. So you can still use all the popular, you know, mining motherboard CPUs that you always use. Other than that, though, other than those few things here like the M.2 and how they changed the actual, you know, layout configuration of their PCIe adapters, it's still pretty much just a standard ATX board. They're priced pretty well right now. As of recording, it's about $270 US plus tax and shipping, depending on where you live and who you buy it from. So that's always going to factor in. Today, I'm actually going to install everything. So I guess I'll do a little, you know, video on how to, like, you know, set up a motherboard for some of those. If you guys that are experienced already know how to, you know, get a motherboard set up and get it all, you know, hooked up, you guys can do that. For those of you that are new to computers or mining, maybe you might want to watch this. So maybe the more advanced guys, you might want to skip to the end and just check out the BIOS, because I'm gonna hook up just an ATX power supply and plug it into my screen here, and you know, we're gonna go in the BIOS settings and just see what kind of BIOS stuff we got in there and what we can work with. For those of you new users here, I'm gonna break down and get the motherboard ready and prep so that we can boot into it. All right, guys. So we have our motherboard here. I'm gonna Move this plastic out of the way. So a great way to build your motherboard is just right on the actual seat, or the actual motherboard box. I love just using this as a, it's a great building place. So first thing we're gonna do is we got this Crucial 4GB stick of RAM. Some people recommend 8. I've used 4 quite a bit, and 4 so far has not let me down. You can always get an 8 stick. I just get whatever's cheap. I believe I paid 20 bucks for this, so I just get whatever the cheapest is out there, because you need at least 4 to operate in Hive. So for those of you who are new, there is a notch right here in the memory DIMM. Okay, and then you're gonna have to, now some motherboards you have to click both sides open, some you do not. So see, this one is only, this is just a single-sided one. So some you have to click both sides, this one's just one. There's a notch right down here. You need to match it so it sits in here, so it matches. So you're gonna just take it, you're gonna put it in the slot. Then you're just gonna push down to hear a click. Okay. So now that you heard the click on this one side, and you can see that right here, that this arm that was out is now closed in against the DIMM, so it's been installed correctly. The next thing we're going to do is install our CPU. Okay, so this is the CPU socket. Make sure you do not touch any of these pins, any bit pins. You will ruin this motherboard very, very quickly. So the next thing we want to do is we're going to get out our CPU, and this is a Celeron, this is an Intel Celeron 3930. Okay, so this is an LGA 1151 CPU, and this will fit the socket. It's very important you touch it by the edges. So here you can see that there is a, here, so I can show better. See the gold triangle right here by my finger? Now on the motherboard, you will also see a triangle. And the triangle is right here. Sometimes it's really hard to see. Now on Intel's, you can also tell, see these little notches right here by my finger? There's one here and one over here on this side. There'll be little rounded holes right here to let you know that you've placed the CPU correctly in the socket. Okay, now what I do is just to make sure it's flat, and I don't push. You don't push down, you can kind of just barely wiggle it a little bit, just a very tiny bit. Okay, so now you can see that there's the triangle here, the triangles here, those little round notches are perfectly matched up on either side. Okay, now what you want to do is you're going to take the actual socket lever, and you're going to put this underneath this little retainer right here, this little screw. Okay, and then you're going to push all the way down, and you have to put it underneath this, put the retention arm against underneath this, and this little piece, as soon as you put the CPU in and it's in correctly, this will pop out, and it'll just be like this. And you could keep this in your motherboard box. This is in case, like, let's say you want to sell it down the road. You take the CPU out, and then you could put this little, this is like a socket protector, so you could put this back in the socket and it'll not get ruined or damaged. The next thing we need to do though is I need to install our cooler on this particular motherboard. Now for those of you that bought a 3930 out of the box like this, you will have a stock Intel cooler. I had to use it because when I did have my mining rigs in the house, my cat ate my CPU cord on one of my rigs, so I had to use a fan. So I ended up having to buy this guy. So it does have clear polythermal paste. Usually, typically, if you're doing a stock Intel cooler, it's plastic, and they just, as soon as you press them into the holes here, it'll click and stay in place. It's really easy to install. Mine, I kind of have to do an extra step here because it's just a little more of a, because I'm using an aftermarket cooler here, but it's what I had to use because I'm not going to overpay for a stock Intel cooler. So for those of you that also have to do a aftermarket cooler here. So here's the back of the socket, and this is where the CPU is right here. You have this faceplate here. This needs to line up with these holes right here. So it does have some adhesive to kind of help it a little bit, but that doesn't always work. This adhesive is really, really terrible. So I try to hold it in there. And so there. Now that you have this here, we're going to take our cooler, which we took the plastic off so you can see the little, that's a really weird cooler, but so anyways, you have to match these with these four right here, and you just push it, you just put it on there, and then we need to get a screwdriver so we can tighten them down. So here we go, we got a little screwdriver right here. This is from iFixit. So what I like to do is I like to just start on one side. I'm just gonna turn it just a couple times, and I'll go over to the opposite end. Okay. And I want to do it over there as well. So give that a couple turns. Come over here to the other end. So I like to create even pressure. So because it's very important that you want this to be flat. If you tighten down one side and then go to the other, it's going to get cockeyed and it's not going to sit correctly. So just do a couple turns, couple turns, couple turns, and pretty much just keep doing this in a star pattern. We have enough to boot in right now. We have our CPU and our cooler and our RAM. We have enough to boot into the BIOS. So this is the main BIOS page here. So let's go to our overclock tweaker. So you could obviously, you guys could do the, you got your boost and your frequency clocks that you can change. I mean, for mining purposes, we're not we're not doing anything like that. Looks like you also can adjust your timings on your RAM. So it looks like, yes, the highest speed is 2133. That's the highest speed that you can go on DDR4. So keep that in mind when you're ordering your DDR4 memory. So CPU configuration, you can change your C states and your hyper throttling, and you have CPU thermal throttling and other things like that. So pretty basic CPU stuff. We don't really need to go into that so much. Here's our chipset storage. So this is where we're going to be paying attention a lot, right? So you have your primary graphics adapter. I'm going to switch it to onboard. That way, I like to set it to onboard. That way I could always just plug in a little monitor, you know what I mean, to my rig, and I could check on it. So above 4G decoding is enabled, and now you have all your PCIe links, right? You have all these links, and they're all set to auto. You could leave them on auto. It should auto set them to ×1. So if you have problems putting in like 12 GPUs in your rig, what you would want to do is you would want to come in here and actually go from auto and set it to Gen 1, because Gen 1 is the lowest speed, so it would help free up some of your PCIe lanes, you know what I mean, for other devices. So this is your select enable for enhanced PCI Express. So you wouldn't want to turn this on because this is a power saving option, so this can hinder your mining right here. And this is just for your onboard, for your shared memory, for your onboard graphics and stuff like that. So pretty basic BIOS here. And then you can also, I would turn this off too. You don't need to have, onboard HD audio. We don't need audio. We're a mining rig, so I like to turn those off. And then you have your storage configuration. I don't have anything SATA hooked up to it right now, as you can see, because I'm just in the BIOS right now, just trying to figure this out. So you could also turn off the serial ports. So I would you don't need the serial ports on. These are like the sleep settings and things like that. So USB, and then you have all your USB ports if you wanted to turn off some of those. So it also does have something really nice. So you could also have this Insta Flash right here. So that's a really nice utility if you had to do any kind of BIOS updates or things like that. So then the next page is going to be your CPU fan settings and chassis fans. So you can have it on standard mode, performance mode, full speed, whatever you want. I just leave them on standard. I've never had an issue. You're not really using your CPU. So guys, so final thoughts on the QZ270. The only issue I ran into was the memory module. So keep that in mind. 2133 DDR4. Some memory will tune itself down and some don't. I've never had troubles with that cheaper Crucial, so it was really weird for me. Anyways, so I did get it to post. It does boot, it does work. So here she is right here. So this is my rip jaws from one of my gaming rigs. So it does post, and I got it in the BIOS. You guys seen that? So now stay tuned, because I'm going to be doing a 12 GPU 1660 Super rig with this board. So stay tuned for that video. As well as, do not forget that we are currently running a giveaway right now. As I mentioned before in the start of the video, and I'm saying it again, so I want to make sure everybody joins, is you need to join our Discord server, which is linked down below, and then you need to go to the giveaway channel and click the little party hat or party symbol emoji and click the reaction there, and that way you'll be entered. That's all you have to do is just click the reaction, and then it will automatically determine a winner. So it's for a Asus Prime B460M motherboard. There's a picture down in the giveaway channel of the motherboard that's being given away. So if you guys want to like check out the specs and stuff like that, you guys can do that. See if you guys really want it or not. All right, guys, this is the Mining King giving you the most hashes, and I'll see you next time.